Hello you lovely lot, and welcome to the beautiful River Dane on what is 100% my favouriteest venue in the whole wide world. We are doing sort of 3 instructional basics videos today, covering Bolo, stick float and flat float. So something a little bit different to what we normally do. Chucking loads of casters in, giving it a little bit of a jiggle, that pole, to again catching F1s. Proper back to my roots today, folks, and I absolutely cannot wait for it. First up, I'm going to be covering sort of like the Bolo. Now, traditional sort of Bolo fishing incorporates a Bolo rod or a Bolognese rod, which is basically like a telescopic whip, but a telescopic rod. You know, like the sea rods that you get when you take on holiday with you, telescopic up to like what, 4 or 5 foot maybe. Well, these Bolognese rods go to like 4, 5, 6 meters with proper extend out loads, and they use lots and lots in Europe on rivers, not sort of like this, but where I'm using it today is perfect. But big deep rivers, you know, obviously where you can't get far enough out on a pole, too fast for like maybe a slider or a waggler. That's when the Bolognese style floats come into play, and certainly long Bolognese style rods. So we've got the long rod, folks, which is what we're going to go through first. In this case, proper relic here from back in the day. I used to use this all the time, this rod. I've used it in quite a few videos recently, and it's amazing. It's my 20-foot Dave's and Middlewich weaver rod. They actually did 2 versions of this. They did a light version and a heavy version. I've got the heavier version on today because we like filling it in and catching bigger fishes. Proper old school reel to start off with first, folks. So a close face reel, but just a normal fixed bill reel will do you absolutely perfect. But the control you get with these close face ones, for all you sort of like, you know, river anglers out there, they're fantastic. You know, complete line control, which we'll cover later on. So first things first, we've got 0.18 diameter float max line on this. So nothing over the norm or anything like that, nice and simple. What I would say though, and it's quite important, with close face reels, don't overly load the line on the spool. Where, let me just get this one to show you the difference. Where on like a normal reel, you can see the lines pretty much to the lip of the spool on that one. You got that in, Richard? On a close face one, you don't want to go anywhere near that, simply because you'll be undoing tangles all day. So make sure it's sort of like half loaded, if you like. And then coming down to the rig, let me just switch hands and I'll show you the rig, and obviously the actual Bolo floats that we use. Let me get a load of slack off that. So first things first, we'll come down to the float. Now, as you can see, it's like a big stick float, if you like. Now, Bolognese style floats are going to be something like this, something with like an alloy stem or potentially carbon stem, something like that, but it'll always be that kind of shape with a nice thick dome bristle. I'll tend to use these in sort of 3 to 6 grams, obviously depending on flow and depending on depth. Now today here, I'm only going to be casting out sort of like 20 meters, and I've got a depth of around sort of 7 or 8 foot. So easy to plumb up on these as well, folks. You just literally stick a plummet on, whack it in, and then just basically feel the weight down until you see the top of the float. So I've got it just so I've got sort of like half the body of the float coming up. Now on this particular river here, I've not got much window from where the river does start shallowing up considerably. Obviously you can hear the weir behind me, so the water's flushing in quite powerful, scouring all the bottom of the riverbed out, and it's making it nice and deep, but it soon sort of like shallows up. So that's why I've got it set at that depth. But you'll see when we're fishing away, we've got complete control over that float, and that's the beauty of the Bolo rig. Now coming down to the actual business part of it, we've got a 3 gram Olivet. It's a 3 gram Bolo float, and we've got a 3 gram Olivet, and you can see it's just trapped with stots either side. Now, important that you're using stots for me personally on rivers. I don't tend to use shots at all, simply because I want to be playing around with depth, you know what I mean? So every time I move my depth, I want to be moving them shots so everything's nice and even, and that's why we've got them stots. We're a lot kinder on your line than what shots are. Certainly non-toxic shots, yeah? Nothing worse for damaging your line than non-toxic shots. And then dead simple, there's no room for finesse. I mean, the finesse comes from presenting the rig right, yeah? When you've cast it in, feather the float down, presenting the rig right. That's where the finesse comes in. This part of it is pretty crude, to be fair. So we've got that bulk there, that olivet, and then what's that, sort of 14 or 15 inches down from that, we've got 4 number 8 stots, and then we've got a 12-inch hook length, and that's it. So everything's within, what you're giving me there, probably 22 inches, something like that. So we've got a depth of 7 foot, and all my shots and my hook is within 20 inches. Now the reason for that is simply because of tangles. If you're not used to this style of fishing and you go to cast it for the first time and you're not feathering the rig right, trust me folks, you will get in tangles. That's why you've got to have the weight forward or weight up your line, and what we're going to be doing, we're going to be stopping that, feathering the float out, and then what happens is these weights, where my hook is, get trajected past the olivet, and then your bait comes in and it all falls nice and natural. If you're not doing it right, you will come back with a tangle. So just make sure, we've got basically two bulks in effect, yeah? Not looking to catch fish through the water, it's just a method that's going to catch fish down on the bottom, but presenting the bait right to him. It's so good folks, I can't stress it enough. And then hook length wise, dead simple, we've got 12 inches of 0.14 Aki power to a size 14 GPMB hook. Dead simple, and I'm going to be putting like 2 or 3 bronze maggots on that. Obviously we'll go through the feeding and all that in a sec, but that is the Bolo rig in a nutshell. Really simple, really effective for use on sort of like big, deep, slow rivers. You catch so many fish on it folks, it's absolutely brilliant. So I think without further ado, we need to go and see it in action and catch some fishes. Yeah! Quickly before we get going fishing then folks, I know I've briefly talked about where I'm fishing to on the flow, but I want to show you plumbing up, yeah, because it's a little bit different to the norm. Normally you'd have like light plummets on, you know, fishing on your pole line, little tiny plummets like that, maybe 15-20 grams at the most. With river fishing, because of the flow, you need heavy plummets on, so we've got a 40 gram plummet on there. You on that, Richard? Yeah, nice and heavy plummet, which is so important for obviously feeling the plummet down and making sure you're on the right bottom, you're not over weed or anything like that, because it'll pick up any bits of weed as well, which is important. So first thing we want to do before we get fishing, and that's why we're doing it, because obviously there's a lot of commotion going in, and that's what we want it for. So before we get going, just going to put that in on the line where we're fishing, which is about there. Hold a tight line, and then you can actually feel that down. So I felt that down rock hard, and I'm just under the surface. We get all resistance go. Now I can see that float just under the surface. See it just pop up there. So that's telling me that I'm slightly over depth. If I come back a little bit, let it go down there, so it shallows up there. So I've got quite a lot of float showing there. So that tells me that I am on the bottom. So all I do from that initial mark, put it up a little bit deeper, and then it's just a case of trial and error on the river. You know, if you feel as though you're not getting the bottom, just go a little bit deeper. If you're snagging the bottom or you're bringing back weed, just come shallow. That's the beauty of it. It's not like pole fishing where you've got to be absolutely bang on. It's all trial and error with plumbing up on the river. But certainly that's how we do it on a long rod. Nice heavy plummet, get straight down there, feel that plummet down, thump, and then you just want a little bit of a float out. If it's a slow river, have it sort of like half a float out. If it's a fast river, you can have it a full float over depth, or you know, usually if it's a fast pacey river, you want to come off bottom a little bit sometimes, but it's all about trying on the day. Right, it's enough of me waffling about plumbing, let's go and catch some fishes. Right then, you lovely lot, we are good to go. So first things first, get some bait in. This style of fishing, you don't need to, well yeah, we do need to feed loads, but what we don't need to do is feed, cast into it, feed, cast into it. Potentially do on some venues, but usually it's all about putting a bed of feed in. In this case today, we've got hemp as our base bait. Lovely hemp. We've got maggots, obviously bronze maggots for on a river, and then we've got some casters. Now because we're fishing not overly far, sort of 20-25 meters, I'm going to be feeding hemp and caster on this line. But as I say, I'll be putting quite a bit in. I've put a little bit of bait in already, so I'm not going to put loads in, but basically, I've got some casters in there, ready to go. A full pouch of hemp will go in. Get my marker. Yes, you can see, I don't want it sort of like spreading that. The beauty of this style of fishing, it's going to cover a big area. What happens here when I cast in, you'll see my float is going to track back slightly towards me, and that's all to do with the flow coming off the weir and the Archimedes screw, which sort of like gets that water going back towards it. So that's why that float's going to come back towards me, yeah? So we've got that hemp in, and then we're going to put some casters in as well. Again, full pouch. No room for finesse on here, folks, or anything like that. You want lots of bait in, and then what I'll do, that'll stand me good. Everywhere's different, folks, but that'll do me for like 8 minutes, 10 minutes or something, and then I'll do the same again. Pouch full of hemp, pouch full of casters. Obviously, if it's bigger fish, you know, big chub, they love the feed, you might have to feed every time and then just fish through it. Completely different to, you know, the other styles of fishing. So first things first then, on with double bronze magpie. Now you'll see I'm obviously sitting down at the minute. When I fish this method, this particular style, I want to be standing up, just because I think you get more control, and obviously it helps with casting as well, because, you know, quite a long rod, longer than what I'm used to, you know what I mean? Right, I want to try and talk you through casting next. Now, casting wise, you don't cast in the traditional way of, you know, obviously releasing the line, coming back over your shoulder, casting out. You can do, by all means. If I was fishing further out, I could do. This is all about sideways casting. Now, I'm not going to pretend, if you're not used to it, you can pick it up quick. It will take some getting used to, but I'll try and talk you through what I'm doing. But obviously, the beauty of fishing, folks, it's all about getting out there and doing it for yourself, you know what I mean? Putting your own stamp on it. So first things first, you see where I've grabbed the hook length, yeah? Just below the shots, or you can grab the shots if you want, but I like to grab it just below the shots. The next thing I'll do is just get a little bit of tension in that rod. So I'm just pulling that rod down, so I've got a slight bend in the rod. Next thing, obviously, with these close face reels, doink, press the centre, and the line is released now, ready to cast. Now I've got my marker over there, and what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be pulling back, keeping that tension in the rod, and then as I flick the rod up, obviously I'm going to let go with this hand, and then I can sort of almost guide the float where I want it to go. But the single most important thing is that feathering. Just before that float hits the water, I'm going to completely stop the line so that my Olivet lands, and then you get that little bulk of 4 shots there landing past the Olivet, so everything's in a nice tight line. If I don't see that and that doesn't happen, I'm going to wind it back, because usually it means you're in a tangle. So I always want to make sure I can see that. So let's go for it then. So I've got my marker, coming back slightly on my rod, casting out. I don't know if Rich caught that, but basically I've stopped the line, and my Olivet's gone and my float's gone. Sorry, my shots have gone. Now, if the river was flowing, you know, a little bit faster, I'd leave my bail arm open so I can let line out. Here, as I say, it's coming back towards me slightly. You see, I'm just mending my float there now. It's just coming back towards me. Usually the fish are anywhere from there. I'm going to say anywhere from there up. Where I was going to then, that's just the start of where, remember me saying before, where that river sort of comes up. Where I'm casting to, it's flat, and then it starts to come up. Now, if you are, well, we are a little bit over depth. If you're too much over depth, obviously your float's going to be dragging on the bottom. But you'll usually tell that by your float going under slow, and obviously you're not hooking anything, or you're coming back with a little bit of weed. Anything fast, it's a bite. So let's go for it again. So same again, stop that float completely. Let that settle, as you see it coming down nice and natural. I'm just going to close that bail arm. But this is the beauty, you're in complete control all the time. As I said, I don't need to worry about feeding. I've put a load of bait in, just fish it out. If you're not getting a bite almost every trot down, then obviously the nets go, you need to put some bait in. It's so important. Obviously these are wild fish, they need food all. Oh, had some on then, it blooming fell off. That was something decent as well, that, folks. But shows that the fish are there, yeah? So I'm going to do the same again, obviously in that same area, underswing, stop it completely. You get that shot, your Olivet going, then your shot, wind down, set that that bail arm over. Well, not the bail arm, but introduce the clutch on the reel, and then there we go. Oh, that's a big fish. Oh dear, water we hooked here, folks. Water we hooked here, second chuck. That's a nice fish, that. Please don't get eaten by a pike. And this is the beauty of this style of fishing, folks, yeah? Obviously in that over that bed of feed, just keep fishing your way through it. It's so good. Can't stress it enough. What we got? I don't even know what it is. It's a, go on the chub, yeah! We've only got the bestest fish in the whole wide world, folks. Now, one thing that will probably do your head in to start with is how you play fish on the long rod. It's like, you do need a long landing net handle. Yeah, you need sort of like a 4 metre landing net handle. You've almost sort of like got to bring the fish back behind you. So you see it's coming back behind me now. And then bring it up into the flow. And then when he's in netting range, you've got to let the line out for him to bring that rod back behind. Look at that for a daddy chub. Oh, folks. Please don't get bitten by pike. How good is this? It just doesn't get any better, does it? Oh, folks. Second chuck. So I reckon that was one that we missed first. It's wet my hands. But everything is going to be in this blooming whirlpool, folks. It's just, oh, look at that. So a pound and a bit chub. Second chuck. Look at the state of that. Absolutely fin perfect, immaculate. Just, I don't want to put him back, Richard. I'm gonna have to put him back though. Mwah! My favouriteest fish in the whole wide world, right there, folks. Brings back so many memories. Now, as always, certainly, obviously summertime, but with all river fish, folks, you simply must let them recover themselves. Yeah, certainly bigger fish like this. Little fish don't tend to be a problem, the little wiry fish, but big fish like this, make sure they've got the fight back. So you can see she's kicking there. So what I'm going to do is put them out into flow a little bit and release, and there we go. I can't believe that second chuck. Now again, you'd think obviously if you're on a swim full of fish like that, chub, you might want to think about feeding every go in, but we'll see how we get on. If we don't get a bite this time, then obviously it's telling you that you do need to put more bait in. So 2 more maggots on. It just, oh, I just can't tell you, folks. I'm just shaking with excitement. So again, stand up, hold the hook length about sort of 8 to 10 inches above the bait, slight tension in your rod, look to where you want to cast, and then it's just a nice underarm flick, stop the line. So you can see Olivet goes out and then your shots go out, nice and simple. Engage the I keep calling it bail arm, I don't know what it's called on a close face reel. Engage that, and then you've got complete control. I just want to get that line behind the float there. So you see it's coming back towards me. Not ideal, but is what it is. Now anywhere around there, that's where I expect to get the bites, where that bait's settling and that riverbed just starts to shallow up a little bit. You see how the angle I've got on my rod, I'm holding a nice straight tight line to the float. I definitely expect to bite in a second. I'm just going to wind in a little bit just to pick up that slack. So you see already it would probably come back 6 metres. There we go, there's another bite. That's another, is that another chub? Oh, folks, how good is this? I mean, we could probably just fish like shallow, you know what I mean? Just fish even like a smaller sort of Bolo float and just set it at sort of 3 or 4 foot and catch. But you see what's on the bottom in these whirlpools, it's just magic, isn't it? Go on, be a barbel. Be a barbel. Be another chub? Yeah, there's another chub. Oh, folks, I am absolutely in my element here. Just does not get any better for me. Look at that. Look at that coming in towards me. So let's bring her upstream. Bring her upstream, and then you want to let the flow bring the fish back down. Yeah. So let that flow bring that fish back down now. Here we go. Oh, oh my days. I'm like, Rich is like, Andy, give you a go behind the CEO want to go. Oh, I reckon I've just caught this one. No, I've not. It's a completely different fish. Wet your hands first, and then let's have a look. It's a little bit bigger, this one. Definitely getting on for £2 this one. It might even be £2, but look at the state of that. Let me put that in there. Ah, folks, does it get any better? Another absolute fin perfect, bestest fish in your wide world. Mwah! Just. Oh, and of course, obviously I've had to use my chub disgorger as well. Let me get my chub disgorger out of there. Yeah, nice big thick chub disgorger. So again, put that in the water, let it get its composure back till it starts kicking. because obviously certainly in like summer days, you know what I mean, you've got to make sure they're getting their oxygen back through the gills. Yeah, it's kicking again now. There we go. Go on the chubbies. I don't think there's anything more to go for you folks. Obviously you keep going like that. We've had 3 casts and we've had 3 bites. If you go 1 trot down without a bite, that's telling you need to feed again. I could probably get away with another 2. I am going to carry on, but I could probably get away with another 2 or 3 goes, and imagine certainly chub, the greedy fish, you'd have to, you know, put some more bait in. But if it's sort of more roach or dace, skimmers, things like that, then you could probably get away 10 or 15 minutes without feeding. But obviously this lends itself to ground bait as well, you know, put some ground bait bowls in. But I'm just keeping it nice and simple for you today, folks. And obviously the actual method itself, there's nothing complicated with it, is there? So folks, get out there, give it a go, and let me know how you get on. But what an absolute method this is. Get on it, folks.